It is often said that heroes are not born, they are forged in fire, tested by adversity, and shaped by moments that would break most people. Few lives illustrate this truth as powerfully as that of Louis Zamperini, the boy who once ran from trouble, then ran for glory, and ultimately ran toward redemption. Louis was born on January 26, 1917, in the small town of Olean, New York, the second son of Italian immigrants Anthony and Louise Zamperini. His parents had crossed the Atlantic in search of opportunity, carrying with them little more than determination, a love of family, and the hope of a better life. When Louis was just a toddler, the family moved west, settling in Torrance, California, a place that would shape his character and destiny. But life for the young Louis, as he came to be called, was anything but easy. Growing up during the years following World War I, he lived in a world where suspicion of immigrants still ran high. Louis spoke only Italian when he entered school, and his classmates teased and bullied him for his accent, his heritage, and his ragged appearance. He often came home with bruises, not from accidents, but from fights. Rather than retreat, Louis grew scrappy and defiant. He learned to fight back, not just with his fists but with quick wit and mischievous daring. By the time he was a teenager, Louis had become the neighborhood troublemaker. He was a master prankster, slipping into backyards to steal pies cooling on windowsills, hopping onto freight trains for adventures, and outsmarting local police officers who often chased him through the streets. His parents worried he was headed down a path of crime, and indeed, many believed Louis would end up in jail before he turned 20. But fate had other plans. A brother's influence. The turning point came thanks to Louis' older brother, Pete Zamperini. Pete saw in Louis what others dismissed: raw energy, a fearless spirit, and untapped potential. While teachers and neighbors scolded Louis, Pete believed he could channel that wild energy into something constructive. His solution was track and field. At first, Louis resisted. Running seemed pointless compared to the thrill of mischief. But Pete pushed, trained with him, and refused to let his brother quit. Slowly, Louis discovered that running gave him a sense of freedom and power unlike anything else. What once had been energy spent on rebellion became fuel for speed. By high school, Louis' transformation was astonishing. He went from being the boy no one believed in to a local sensation on the track. In 1934, while still a teenager, Louis set a national high school record for the mile, 4 minutes and 21.2 seconds, an achievement that placed him among the fastest young runners in America. The boy who had once been considered hopeless now had colleges and coaches clamoring for his talent. The Olympic dream. Louis' success on the track opened the door to an even greater dream: the Olympic Games. At just 19 years old, he qualified for the 1936 Berlin Olympics, an event overshadowed by the looming presence of Adolf Hitler and the rising tension in Europe. Louis competed in the 5,000-meter race, a grueling distance event unfamiliar to him but one that tested his endurance and grit. Though he finished in 8th place, his final lap was so astonishingly fast, just 56 seconds, that it caught the attention of spectators and even Hitler himself. The dictator, impressed by Louis' speed, requested to meet him. According to Louis, Hitler shook his hand and remarked, "Ah, the boy with the fast finish." Though brief, the encounter added a brush of historical intrigue to Louis' already remarkable story. A world at war. Louis returned to the United States as a rising athletic star. He dreamed of competing in the 1940 Olympics, set to be held in Tokyo. But those dreams were shattered when World War II broke out. The games were cancelled, and Louis' focus shifted from running to serving his country. He enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Forces and became a bombardier aboard a B-24 Liberator. The job was dangerous. Bombing missions over the Pacific were fraught with mechanical failures, enemy fire, and perilous distances over open water. Louis, once running on tracks, was now flying into the heart of war. A crash in the Pacific. In May 1943, while on a search and rescue mission, Louis' plane malfunctioned and crashed into the vast Pacific Ocean. Out of 11 men on board, only 3 survived the initial impact: Louis, pilot Russell, Phil, Phillips, and tail gunner Francis McNamara. They clung to 2 small life rafts, adrift in one of the largest and most unforgiving oceans on Earth. What followed was a trial of endurance few humans could imagine. For 47 days, Louis and his crewmates fought against starvation, dehydration, searing sun, and endless saltwater. Sharks circled constantly, bumping the rafts and lunging whenever someone dared trail a hand in the water. At one point, a Japanese bomber spotted them and strafed their rafts with bullets, forcing them to dive into the sea while dodging both gunfire and sharks. They survived by catching fish, birds, and even drinking rainwater that collected in the raft. Louis' resourcefulness and unbreakable spirit kept them alive, but time took its toll. McNamara eventually succumbed to the elements and was buried at sea, leaving only Louis and Phil. After drifting more than 2,000 miles, the 2 men were finally spotted, not by rescuers, but by the Japanese Navy. Captivity and torture. Louis and Phil were taken as prisoners of war, thrust into a nightmare of brutality. They were beaten, starved, and humiliated in various camps across Japan. Louis, already gaunt from his ordeal at sea, was singled out by a particularly sadistic guard, Matsuhiro Watanabe, nicknamed the Bird. Watanabe despised Louis' fame and spirit, making it his mission to break him. He subjected Louis to relentless beatings, forced labor, and psychological torment. Yet through it all, Louis refused to be broken. He clung to dignity, refusing to surrender the inner core of himself. Even when Watanabe forced him to lift a heavy wooden beam above his head and hold it or face a beating to death, Louis endured, his defiance becoming a symbol of survival. Return home and inner battles. When Japan finally surrendered in 1945, Louis was liberated. He returned home a hero, but the scars of war were deep. Nightmares haunted him. He suffered from what is now known as post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. He drowned his pain in alcohol, his life spiraling downward. It was his wife, Cynthia, who ultimately pulled him back from the brink. She convinced him to attend a Billy Graham crusade in 1949. There, Louis found faith. He experienced what he described as a spiritual rebirth, letting go of anger and embracing forgiveness. Remarkably, he even forgave his former captors, including Watanabe. A new mission. With his newfound faith, Louis dedicated his life to helping others. He became a Christian evangelist, sharing his story of resilience and forgiveness with audiences around the world. He worked with troubled youth, using his own wild childhood as proof that even the most lost can find purpose. His story gained international recognition through Laura Hillenbrand's best-selling biography, Unbroken, later adapted into films by Angelina Jolie and others. Louis' extraordinary journey, from delinquent boy to Olympic runner, from castaway to prisoner, from broken man to redeemed soul, captured the imagination of millions. Final years and legacy. Louis Zamperini lived an astonishingly long life, passing away on July 2, 2014, at the age of 97. He had seen the worst of humanity and the best, endured trials that seemed insurmountable, and emerged not only unbroken but transformed. In 2015, he was honored as the Grand Marshal of the Rose Parade, a fitting tribute to a man who embodied resilience, courage, and hope. His story continues to inspire new generations to face adversity with strength and to believe in the power of forgiveness. Louis Zamperini's life reminds us that no matter how dark the night, the human spirit can endure, and even soar. His journey teaches us that survival is not just about the body, but about the heart, the mind, and the unshakable belief that tomorrow can be brighter. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing to the channel and see you soon.